forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane, more flames. Oh no, no more snowflakes.
We can all get along, but there's no stopping. Ay, everybody's wrong, that's a real problem. Ay, they don't want to hear it, but they still talking. Ay, soon enough, we running out of options. Ay, this ain't gonna end till it's in the coffin. Ay, we ain't gonna be friends till we try to squash it. Ay, I don't know how we can make amends or we drop it. Snowflakes melt when it's hot, kid.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no, the forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane, more flames. Oh no, no more snowflakes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to HeartMind Expressions, the Fab Four. Well, in this case, it's going to be the Fab Two.
We're
You
going
got me?
Fab half right now, huh?
I guess so. You got me, you got Sue, and that's two. Maria and Alex were not available at this today, so got the two of us. So, good evening, Sue. How are you doing tonight?
Good evening. I'm doing well. I'm doing well, all things considered. If crazy doesn't go on steroids, it definitely goes on steroids. A lot of things going on this planet. Earth
Do you
has
think-
never had a dull moment.
You would think that life might need to take a drug test. I mean, just when you think that things sound a little crazy, oh, you get a left turn and a right hook, and there you go.
Well, we can't give Earth a PCR test, though.
I don't think you can give it a basic steroid urine test either. So
I don't know. I mean, the water on our planet is a semi-odd million-year-old dinosaur piss, so I don't know.
if that's true, I don't know.
I don't know. I
I'd be more
can't
I'm more
confirm
concerned about the fiction side.
that,
They're swimming in the stuff,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
and they still exist to this day. So
Yeah.
they do their own thing as much as any other creature does. So also, I just wanted to let viewers know today we're going to be talking about current events that may be a little touchy and sensitive for some people. So viewer discretion is advised for this. And I want to make sure people are aware of this due to that type of nature and how sensitive people are. And I just wanted to,
We do care what happens around the world, and we are sad when there are, consequences that do take, lives and destroy families and everything like that as well. So we are taking all of that into consideration. However, we believe in bringing stories with facts, and we do believe in bringing stories that, maybe not of mainstream narrative.
not just mainstream narrative, but trying to bring it towards not just having one view of it, trying to explore the entire story or what is actually happening so that we have a much more rounded understanding of things. Because I've noticed, generally speaking, journalists or journalist companies out there will only really talk about one particular side of things and really will only stick to that. Meanwhile, you'll have other sides talk about the other thing, and then you'll have fighting between everything. So I just like to take a little bit from here, a little bit there, throw it in a mixing bowl, mix it all up, put it in the oven for 400 degrees, and let the thing rise. And we'll see where it goes from there.
I think that's called a souffle, or are we talking about cake? I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Well, I'm allowed to make noises, so it's definitely not a souffle.
Okay, sounds good. No, souffles collapse. So anyway.
Yes. So yeah.
The
So
more collapsing cake is. But anyway, that's me on my food side. Sorry about that.
no, no, no,
But,
no, no. I'd rather have the chef.
but we have been seeing mainstream media constantly repeat the same rhetoric. So we have to
Over
kind of be careful, and making
how
sure we kind of step away from that and take a broader view of things.
Of course, yes. Uh, so trying to be as direct as you can, but at the same time respecting that there are rules and regulations and other, folk ways, mores, whatever you want to use. Uh, we still got to follow those.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to tonight. And tonight, we're going to be touching on, or tonight we're actually going to be talking about the current situation in the Ukraine, and and that's a very touchy topic for a lot of people, and I understand that completely. Um, but here's my little caveat to that. I don't want people to have undue fear um, when it comes to seeing everybody just saying the exact same things over and over and over again, as we've seen all the time. Whenever there's a big no newsworthy thing, everybody just says the same thing over and over and over and over again, and then you create fear where there shouldn't be. Not saying that there shouldn't be fear at all, but there should not be an excess of it. There should just be general concern, and I think there should be general concern about things as a whole. What do you think?
I think it's also we need to present as much facts as possible and let people decide what emotion they need to pick, rather than almost it just seems like they're almost because they have a lot of psychologists and people that in the psychiatry type field that work for them. They know how to pick how a certain topic and certain way of saying thing to create a certain general emotion. And so therefore I just think that that we should just be presenting as much facts as possible and allowing people to decide what emotion they portray this as. I mean, some people may see it as no big deal and other people may see it as a huge deal, but it should be up to the people to decide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with that put into place, please, viewer discretion is advised. And if you wish to join us, thank you for taking the time, and we do appreciate it one way or another. So let's talk about what's going on right now, and a little bit of backstory for those who are not familiar about what's been going on, or if you've been under a rock, it really just, you could just not be watching TV whatsoever, which I actually recommend not watching too much television. It's not good for you. But what's been
we'll
going
just
on?
start in the same place with just Once Upon a Time, right?
Well, once upon a time, and it's normally like that harp sound, and then just like a fuzzy like um, uh, fade in, fade out type of animation.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've been having within the last month or so, Western nations basically saying, "Oh, Russia's going to do this, Russia's going to do that, Russia's going to poke, 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 poke," and Russia goes, "We're not going to do what you think we're going to do," which. And I'm going to be arguing both sides. I'm not going to I'm going to be more neutral as much as I can.
Right, and Russian has been saying, and then Ukraine has been saying.
Exactly. What is the one thing that they tell you not to do? Do not poke the bear. In this case, do not poke, or the dragon. In this case, don't poke a Russian bear. They don't like it. And I personally have no idea why there's always this big bad view that people have on one particular country versus another country, especially when we have to make a list of everything others have done. I don't know if it's fair, but really a lot of this started with back in 2014, I I think, yeah, 2014. It's been a while. With the whole situation in Crimea, which we all know how that turned out. Ukraine ceded Crimea to Russia. But then there were other areas, which is known as the Donbass region, which is in western Ukraine, which is on the Russian border. Now, these places have been culturally Russian for generations. Now, what happened was that after the World Wars and even after the fall of the Soviet Union, a lot of countries in Eastern Europe were just put back together piecemeal. Kind of like how they did the Middle East after Great Britain left the Middle East when it came to Iraq and Syria and Saudi Arabia, how all those countries just all of a sudden just appeared when they weren't not like that prior to any type of integration. And well, what happened really, when you look at it, was these countries or these locations wanted to reintegrate with a culture that was more alike to theirs, on top of the issues that have to do with testing. There was a lot of questionable stuff happening in particular regions. One of the big ones was the unknown use of experimental drugs on people who are completely unaware. I was looking into this claim, and there are several particular stories of people going to pharmacies, filling a prescription, and finding out what they got was not actually what they were prescribed. And you find out these start becoming more numerous as you kind of pull that timeline back, as far back as 20 years, if not longer. So here we are now. We can pull that back to 2022, and the fireworks have legitimately begun.
We can explain why the Ukrainians are constantly getting sicker and sicker. You know, they just been health problems that just skyrocket way worse. It makes the health problems in the United States seem like a minimal case.
Oh, definitely. And on top of that, Ukraine's not exactly the most stable nation. Like I said, once you have put a country together piecemeal like that, inevitably you're going to run into a issue with different cultures or different factions arising, saying that this is mine or that's mine, or how dare you take that which is mine. And so there have been at least 6 or 7 different factions within the Ukraine fighting with one another for a very long time. One of which is the ultra nationalists. Now, if you've ever seen one of those particular flags, it looks like a Third Reich flag with the Ukrainian. It's a Third Reich cross within a Ukrainian banner. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about that type of stuff, the National Socialist type of stuff. I'm not going to go the other way because we all know, you know, if you know. So that was one of the things that is being dealt with at this moment, is this removal of this extreme radicalness that is well known within these particular regions at this moment. Now, another thing that needs to be considered is that that area, well, Ukraine in general, is generally known as the Cayman Islands of Europe. So a lot of bankers, a lot of questionable things happen there, because since it is so unstable in some cases, that you can get away with a lot of stuff, especially when you hear about things that happen with Hunter Biden, Paul Pelosi Jr., John Kerry's son, other well-known families or some form of political influence. It's a very common hotspot to go there because of their lax regulations and their the ease of access, I guess. What's your thoughts, so far?
What? I was
What
just listening to you.
any thoughts so far? Before I go
Well,
to you?
well, I know that they had regulations. The regulations there wasn't so strict. It actually is even way less strict than that's why they would pick that over the Swiss bank a lot of times. The Swiss banking system had their own strictness and regulations and stuff. So if you want to deal with anything financial there, I think they have a huge thing, a Bitcoin thing going over there as well, don't they?
I don't remember if crypto was a thing over there as much. I know.
don't. Yeah, I did. I thought I heard, but I could be mistaken. You know.
I'm not sure. I know it's a very common place for laundering.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, a lot of I mean, they have a lot of dark web access thing going on over there. So I don't know too much about it. I just heard that there's a lot of dark web type dealings that have to do with not only just trafficking humans and parts, but also trafficking different types of drugs and systems. A lot of times, even certain products and goods that are not good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, to correct, I want to correct myself. Ukraine did legalize Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency last year in September.
Yeah, I thought that's what I heard.
Yeah, so it was and it was voted on unanimously.
So let's just say a lot of the bad guys really took advantage of that.
Crypto is,
from what I heard.
Well, yeah.
I'm not saying that crypto's bad or anything. I'm just saying that the bad guys, once it was so accessible, they just jumped on board like a totally gold mine ship.
Exactly. Like any other savvy person would do.
Yeah.
They would, find where the markets are good and really double, triple, or quadruple their profits.
Yeah.
It's just how business works. And if they can do it in record time, so be it.
Yeah. It would also, I mean, I believe crypto is traceable though, correct?
It can be, yes. But it has to have at least one person who is part of this, part of that transaction in order for you to see that particular stuff on the blockchain.
Okay.
It's traceable. It's you can find it.
Yeah.
But they're still adding security nonetheless. So like hacking is very difficult to do, but you can still trace it.
They're still trying to work outside the normal banking system and stuff like that. I mean, they've been trying to find ways to definitely, I mean, that's a place if you want to find ways to get rich quick and you don't care about the legalness of it and the legal ramifications of it, and the illegal ramifications of it. I mean, then Ukraine's a good place to go for those things. They've been happening for quite a while there.
Well, yeah, not just Ukraine. There's other countries you can do. True. Yeah. But
Africa is another one, isn't it?
Africa, parts of Southeast Asia, South America. There are general areas where it's easier to do stuff versus others.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to necessarily have to do with a particular size or stability of a country or how much crime or anything like that. A lot of those things are secondary compared to that. It's not a correlation causation thing. It's more of if there's access to it, then you can be able to do it. Like you can do crypto here. It's you can mine, you can do what you want to do with crypto in the United States, but there is regulations with it, and there's also taxes applied to it too, because they're considered type of gain. So you'll have people who just invested in, say, Bitcoin at a very low number when it was very low, and when it shot up to 60,000, well, look at all that money you just made. Looks like you're gonna have to pay Uncle Sam some extra money this year because of that.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about.
Well, going back to that, so with all of the stuff going on, it does breed even more corruption than they already have. I mean, they're already dealing with a great deal of corruption. So you want to take it from there?
Corruption breeds corruption.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Just constant.
And
yeah.
And
even
this
though
is where
the Ukraine is a good company, the people are good people, you know.
yes, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there are
but within
that are in there, but
yeah.
the Ukrainian people themselves are good people.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear that we're not painting, you know, the Ukrainians all bad or anything. We're just saying that on a surface level, the Ukrainians are good. It's just below level. They got a lot of people, beings, and entities, if you will, that have been messing with the system and the flow of the Ukrainian people for a long time.
The swamp is deep and wide, and it's not just one country or another. It's going to be in
it's the whole
most
planet.
countries. Most or all countries are going to have their type of swampy, dark side to it. The United States is a very good example of that. We have so many skeletons in our closet that I don't think that door is even closed. I think it's spilling out a while ago, and it just keeps on pouring out. Other countries.
Well, actually, what's been happening is that the swamp has been trying to make their closet bigger so they can keep the door closed, but they're kind of running out of building space, is what it is. So now now it's starting to spill out.
Building space and building material.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more and more obvious.
Yeah, exactly. You know, for a while they were making the closet bigger and kind of just being able to shove them in the back, you know, and all that. But
once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it's very difficult to make everything back to normal, quote unquote. You're not going to get that. You're going to get that reality that people will realize that these things do exist.
Yeah, and it's just it's just something about our species that once we've seen something, you can't unsee it. So, so like I said, the Ukrainian people are good. It's just that right now, what's going on between Ukraine and Russia, they got a lot. They got actually a lot of you know, surfacey situation, but then we got a lot of underlying situations that are not so obvious.
Like, for instance, the refugee situation that I've seen when it comes to this.
Yeah.
A lot of them, surprisingly, from what I've been able to learn, are not going towards Europe. They're going towards Russia, surprisingly. And the reason why they're going over there is because, one, they have similar cultures. Two, they have a similar language. And three, it's more compatible with them overall. So, and on top of this, there's a lot of people within that country that don't want to deal with NATO nations. The problem with a lot of NATO nations is that, well, the West. And I'm saying that as a person who is of the West. Let's just say we have not been kind to a lot of countries over the centuries.
Yeah.
And
we like to appear that we are kind to a lot of countries, you know, but at the end of the day, yeah, we have our issues, definitely.
Skeletons in the closet once again.
Yeah.
Most people are not stupid, and they will have a long retention of memory on these things. especially when you consider um, Germany, Nazi Germany. And now I'm saying that word for one specific reason, and when it comes to Russia, okay, if you talk to someone from there, they will well let you know that they talk about the 12, I think it was the 12.5 million people who were slaughtered during World War II. They will let you know that very upfront, and they will, and they remember that. That is a cultural thing to them now, that they had that many people who were just killed for no reason whatsoever. They weren't soldiers. These people weren't warriors whatsoever. They were civilians. And any type of thing that shows up to them that has any type of shadow of that, they are quick to extinguish it. Do I think what they are doing right now is right? Well, personally, I can't be the judge of that. I personally have no association to either or. So I really can't judge. I can only state what's available right now. And for me to make a judgment of this is bad or this person's good and that person's bad it's just not for me to say. It's difficult to explain it in this situation because you're always going to have somebody ticked off at you, just like any other major hotbed conversation piece you'll have. You always have that one person or that two people there that will argue endlessly that says that once this side is right and that side is wrong, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And another thing, one last thing, is why do they always talk about world domination or this, that we're going to do this and we're going to do that, without any clear indication that that's the reason why somebody's doing something? I don't think that's the reason why these things are happening at all. But then that's just me.
Well, considering the relationship that Ukraine and Russia has had over the year.
Which is a tenuous one. It's been and here's the thing: those two countries or two cultures have been together in one way or another for just about 1,000 years, right? So old that there was no United States, there was no Europe as we know it, there was no world as we know it 1,000 years ago. That's how old these things are. We're talking about a culture which began with the Kievan Rus, right? Kievan Rus. Modern, that would be the original form of the Ukraine was the Kievan Rus. Here's that word, Rus. Rus is the root word for Russian or Russo.
Right. Do you remember what Putin just said? Didn't he say that, they're not just another neighboring country? Didn't he also say something like, they were like my blood, or they were like, I don't remember how he said it. He said it in a speech yesterday. And I don't know if it was just yesterday, but it was the day before as well. But he was talking about how close that Ukraine is with Russia, that they're completely of his blood, they're his brethren. You know what I mean?
They're very close together culturally,
Yeah.
Historically.
Like
It's like
acting like they were family. Look, we need to be together. We're family kind of attitude is what he was getting
they're
at.
like two brothers.
Yeah.
They're like two brothers, right? You have the Kievan Rus, and then you had the Principality of Muscovy. Muscovy eventually became modern day Russia. The Kievan Rus eventually died off, but Muscovy eventually absorbed it. And so those two places, those two countries, have been together or separate or have some type of relationship with each other ever since. Now, just like two brothers or two siblings You're going to have sibling rivalries. You're going to have fighting one another. I know. I'm a brother with. I have two other brothers and a sister, and I can tell you, I have had plenty of fights and arguments and disagreements and who knows what else with my siblings on many of occasions. It's just that's just the nature of siblings. You're gonna have your rivalries.
And you have your score points and who gets to win and who don't.
I think we've lost count of a score at this point, though.
Yeah, just throw the chalk and the chalkboard away. Who wants to count anymore? I get it. I totally get it.
At this point, whoever who was able to drag themselves out of that
Alive.
match, you may be able to survive with a few scrapes. That's just kind of how it is. Yeah.
So,
and another thing is, go ahead, Sue.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I apologize.
No, not whatsoever. You go ahead. I would.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I know that they may appear that they have trouble from time to time, but between Russia and Ukraine, they have been cooperating quite a lot of things in the past, actually. And I have a feeling that what's going on right now is possibly one of those times. This is actually more cooperation than there appears to be.
I think.
And you just cut out, Alex. Uh-oh. I think we may have lost Alex.
Extra. Did you hear me?
Yes, now I just started hearing you. Yep, you're cutting out again. We lost you. I don't think they want us talking about this. You are literally fading. I'm barely hearing anything.
How's that?
So far, so good.
Okay, good.
Might want to start all over.
Start over.
Right after when I got done talking, you made a response.
Oh, I did. I refresh my memory.
I can't because you cut out then. I was talking about what I was actually talking about how that because of the times they aren't getting along, but I think this is one of the times that on surface it looks like there's some sort of conflict going on, but I believe that maybe there's something more to it than that.
Yeah, I was agreeing, and I just basically agreed with you.
Yeah.
I was going to go and say that this reminds me very much like an exorcism. If you've ever seen movies or anything like that, I think that's what we're seeing, that exorcising of a dark past or of a dark shadow of something like that old brother or sibling is coming to the aid of an old family member. They love each other. They care about each other. They may not agree with each other 100% of the times, but they generally accept one another for the most part. And we're not looking at it as a West thing once again. These are Slavic countries, and they have Slavic values that are completely different than the Latinized ones of Western Europe. It's like comparing the United States to Japan. You can't do that. They have two completely different cultures and value systems, which is exactly what it's like over there. They have a completely different value system. And yeah, I can't really go any further than that with that thought.
Do you want to talk about what you believe is possibly going on
Well, yeah.
without hurting
There
yourself?
have been a few. There's been a few theories that have been going around lately. Uh, Most notably is the one that has to do with biolabs, and that has actually been mentioned not just by uh, like anons or any group like that. There are locals who have talked about that. Remember, we were talking about those medicines at the pharmacies and stuff like that? That's part of that story. And if you look at the locations where these things have been happening, they're in those vicinities. They're not in one particular area, as a regular invasion would be. What we're looking at is a strategic operation with clear objectives. And those objectives are to remove these things, like an exorcism would be to remove a dark or horrible spirit or demon out of you or out of somebody. These things have been there, and to remove these things would to create a better way of life for some of these people who have been exposed to this stuff for a very long time.
Yeah. So, what do you believe the chances of, besides President Zelensky, any of the people that surround him that are actually in constant contact with Putin and the people surrounding him, and knowing the location of all these places? Because it seems like the targeting is extremely precise.
Yeah, I don't know that particular detail or the specifics of that. Just that those things have been uh, correlating with one another. I just find it to be quite well. I feel it's much more than a coincidence.
No. Well, and
They're
looking back at my take on, because the evidence of the stuff that's going on around the world and the stuff that's, you know, why would Biden pick now to poke the bear, as to put it, and of all the stuff that's going on in the world, you think that's an odd time to be poking, since we have a lot of things going on our plate, which makes me believe that also a great deal of it is for distraction purposes.
Mhm. I think it's meant for distraction at this point. Let's not pay attention to what's going over here. There has been a lot of negative press as of late, especially when you consider what's happening with Durham and what's happening with a whole bunch of other people at this point.
Yeah, again, considering that what the press is saying about it, I mean, I think that they knew that that was also going to happen. It's expected. They know the
Yeah,
psychology of how the press was going to take it if they said, well, we decided to, you know, have the bear be poked. We decided to have this happen and that happen. You know how the press would react, and it's how they're getting the public to react about it. Um, at this point, I am just seeing it as, I'm sorry for anybody who has gotten hurt over there, and we are praying for the families and anybody that has suffered any kind of loss that has gone on over there. But at the same time, I am just seeing as more of some sort of operation, and that it's not 100% a tragic event, but as you said, an exorcism or some sort of a cleansing right now. And unfortunately, sometimes the consequence is that sometimes people can't get hurt. Sometimes people can't get killed.
yeah, that's the unfortunate reality of things is that there is no such thing as 100% squeaky clean type of thing like this. There are going to be incidences, and yeah, I mean, here's the one thing that you're noticing is that these common narratives that are talked about in the in mainstream news, right? First of
They
all,
use the
the
same
one that
rhetoric. Yeah.
like one of the big ones was why does anybody need an AR-15? No one ever needs that type of weapon. And what have they been doing in Kiev? They have been giving every man 18 to 50 an automatic rifle.
Yeah.
Think about that. We're talking every man at that age, those ages.
Yeah, they're giving them
Doesn't
rifles
matter if you
to
have
defend themselves.
never.
You're cutting
Yeah,
out completely again.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. Okay.
They don't want you talking about that.
Oh, wait. The fact that they're handing children, well, 18-year-olds in my mind is still a child. AK-47s.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I thought you weren't supposed to. I thought no one should have that type of firearm. I thought that's deadly. It's going to hurt somebody. At least that's what they would tell you here in the Western world. With the way gun control rhetoric is.
Well, they only remind us during election year too.
Election year. Oh, on top of this, you also have groups saying, well, this could affect climate change too. Oh, okay. I don't know how a conflict would cause climate change. It's just you run into these inconsistencies.
Well, unless you can argue so hard that you actually fart a lot, but that's the only thing I could come up with.
I don't know. There's a difference between.
I haven't seen any argument cause climate change. However, they can cause vibe changes in the room, but the vibes and climate are totally different.
Mm-hmm. Now, they're just different things that people are talking about in these comfy sound rooms, which is completely unconnected with what's actually happening on the ground. What's actually happening in those locations is never, or most of the time, not what they're telling you on your cable news or your 24-hour news cycle or your newspapers. A lot of that stuff is meant for sensationalism. A lot of them are tabloids. They don't tell you what you actually need to know, just what they want you to know.
Yeah.
Which is very
it's frustrating for me. It's very frustrating for me because I have to dig to find what's going on, and they haven't made it easy to dig either.
No, they haven't. No, not at all.
It used to be you just needed to scrape a couple of pages off, and then you can get where you need to go. And then it was a shovel, and now it's a jackhammer. So
yeah, now I think you could do it with a little bubble gum.
Now we need a type of drill that you do to bore through the earth. So and they want you to give up. But what they say is we are the news now. Yeah.
And once again, heart goes out to any or all persons or people who are hurting or displaced or have any type of harm put to them. That's not what I'm saying whatsoever. I'm against any of that. But it happens. That's the fact of the matter, that reality and life are not always fair, fun, and nice. They can be harsh, they can be unfair, they can be callous, they can be just the most horrific things that you could possibly imagine, and then some.
And as insensitive as it may sound, it goes by this saying that we have heard quite a lot now, where they say the needs of the many will outweigh the needs of the few. So in what's going on in Ukraine, we believe that the majority of the people will survive this. It's just that, yes, it's causing quite an inconvenience here and there. But overall, at the end of the day, I think this will be good for Ukraine.
And if you actually look at a lot of these death counts,
yeah,
I may not be I may not be qualified to say this, but they seem relatively low.
Yeah, I've heard what 70
I've
right
heard
now.
maybe 350 to maybe 500 people so far,
Okay, yeah.
which is
Okay, I
I've
probably
seen
haven't had the updated yet.
I've seen mass casualty events here have higher numbers,
Yeah,
which means that there is definitely a concerted effort to preserve life
yeah, as much as possible.
as much as possible. That doesn't mean
That doesn't
that
mean
if
that
you
those
go up,
500 or 700 people or whatever, or 50 or 70 people are those lives aren't important. They are
no,
important to us. We even one life being taken is awful. It's just that overall, if it takes 50 to 700 lives to maybe solve a problem that could save millions, if not billions, then I can see it happening.
plus we're dealing with a information war, and we have been for quite some time. And like any war, any type of conflict, casualties are a reality.
We're
They just
also
will
dealing with
happen.
information war casualties as well. We are dealing with casualties all over the internet and the system. Look at how many sites, posts, and accounts have been taken down.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not panicking. I don't know anybody else who should be panicking. Everything should be fine.
I think we need to
We're-
sit back and just keep an eye on the situation and look at the number one thing you want to look at when you see these things is concentrate on the language and how they're saying things, the clues, and look at the patterns. There's other clues of what is going on, and you will start to see um, a much broader picture that there's something else that's going on than what is that we're straightly being told. So you kind of have to go between language, read between the lines, to find out what are they not telling us.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that will do for that topic. So shall we wrap it up for tonight?
Yeah.
Was there anything you needed? Any, was there
Well,
anything?
I haven't. We have. Since we came on just a little bit late, we had about anywhere between 7 to 10 minutes. Did you kind of wanted to talk about a little bit what's going on with the new person that just got elected that Biden picked?
They didn't get elected. They got
Not
nominated.
elected, but nominated. Yeah,
They got nominated.
I used the wrong word. I'm sorry.
No, I don't know too much about her, to be honest.
Yeah, I believe she has a family of officers. I believe. So it would be interesting what her attitude is.
Yeah.
On the law. I on the stuff that goes on, all the stealing. I mean, I was being sarcastic earlier about it on Twitter that I believe that all this imagine the attitude will be with all the crime that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really sad that if somebody's going to be picked just because of the gender, race, and so forth, then I'm kind of wondering if definitely that would factor in. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah. We will see. We'll keep an eye on that one and see how that one plays out.
Yep. I just find it to be very convenient or inconvenient to nominate a Supreme Court justice during a situation like this. I think it's in bad taste. I would think that you would want to do this after the dust has settled and we can actually deal with our matters here. Or, we don't deal with that matter whatsoever and we just focus on stuff here. You can't do one and the other. You have to do one or the other, not both.
And it's kind of like having all these terrible events happen. But hey, you know what? while we're at it, let's plan a party.
Sure. I'll bring balloons and sparklers.
Yeah, right in the middle of a funeral.
There's a movie like that. I forgot which that movie was. Death, Death at a Wedding or something like that.
4 weddings and a funeral. I don't know if they did
Four
that.
Weddings and a Funeral. I think that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's, there's a time and a place where you do things definitely. But I think they're definitely showing the level. I mean, this guy hasn't this so-called sitting. Well, I call him fake president. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. But the sitting fake president, he has not that hadn't really done anything that's in good taste. I mean, the closest thing he has good taste that was possibly ice cream, and that's about it. And even then, he doesn't, pick good timings to go to an ice cream shop. It's almost like when all hell breaks loose, he goes, you know what? Let me go to hit an ice cream parlor, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's this is coming from a guy who does have bad taste. And this is coming from a guy who talks about, the blonde hairs, that on his legs that being hitting by the sun and all sunlight and all that. So good taste is not his thing anyway.
Yeah.
What's expected? And good timing is not his thing either.
Well, I personally believe a lot of things are being run by him per se. I think he has a group of people doing it as with anybody else, but more now than previously. So
Yeah.
But
definitely.
All right, so I'm gonna wrap it up for tonight.
Yeah.
Was there any plugs you needed to do before we headed out?
Well, I want to we thank Katie and Soma Fusion and iEvolveTV. We also talk about Savvy Closing Line. You want to be comfortable. You want to wear things that actually fit, and you can be able to exercise. You can lounge. You can go to the grocery store. So Savvy Closing Line. We want to thank you very much for that. For being there for us for a show and everything. There anyone else I missed?
I think you hit everybody. I
Okay, I got everybody. All right.
thank Katie for the opportunity to do these things weekly and talk to all you guys out there who join us.
Yeah,
So,
thank you very much. And we know we kind of been out, but hopefully we can keep the momentum going. So thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you. And see you next week. Have a good night.